Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel with my coffee, with my books and my reviews, and some rain. And well, it was sprinkling earlier, so maybe you may not still be doing it, but we're still going to keep it. And we are talking about a sequel to a book that I previously talked about, and I loved it. I'm hit and miss every once in a while on lit RPGs, like literary RPGs. However, Return of the Martial Messiah, Book 2, came out on NetGalley. I requested it, but my request is still pending. However, I could not wait any longer, and someone else on one of my comments told me that the book was already out. And so I was like, heck it, I'm getting it anyway. So I got an app called Audiobooks and went ahead and got it. Now, I don't know if it was on other audiobook apps, such as Audible or what have you, but for some reason I found it on Audiobooks, the app, and went ahead and downloaded it, got it, and dove straight in. And so it is Return of the Martial Messiah, book number 2, a lit RPG, Martial Cultivation Adventure by ToraAKR. And it does appear that those who have also read it with me also have been loving this book. So if you like lit RPGs, again, literary RPGs, where it's kind of like reading a video game a little bit, where but again, I'm audiobooking it, so I get to hear it, and it just, I don't know, it plays out well for me. If it's not your, in not your vein of listening, I completely understand, but for me it works out pretty well. Diving into the summary, Zion Line promise was triple your lifespan. The price? Surviving an unknown world rife with brutal combat where the gruesome deaths are terrifyingly real. For the desperate humanity, it was a price worth paying. But beneath the time dilatation's gleaming facade lies a horrific truth that Earth's elite will kill to conceal. They will fail, not fall. Rain Kong Ru has seen this future before. He lived through the yoke of captivity it heralds, and he knows there is precious little time to consolidate his power before millions die again. Enemies multiply as events outside Rain's memories proliferate, but he wouldn't have it any other way. For Rain's martial path is one of challenge, pressure, and risk. The more on the line, the faster he evolves to meet the tidal wave of forces arrayed against him. Under the guise of Alaric, Rain is hunted by those with the means to see him dead in both worlds. Krongate was once his home, its leaders his mentors, its people his own. They taught him everything he knew and enslaved him for a lifetime. Now, Krongate's vast financial might is aimed directly at his throat, and they'll stop at nothing to ensure Rain Kong Ru and Alaric become just another footnote in history. So, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. So, to kind of set the groundwork for you all, Rain wakes up. He has been living in this game for decades. There is what seems to be haptic gear that you can put on. That means your like the motions of your body are translated into the game. Like motions of your arms, hand, heart rate, everything are all translated into the game. And he has lived that life already. He has been in that world with all of those memories. He has lived, again, those decades in there. And in the first book, he wakes up and it's like 20, 30 years in the past before the game has even come out. And now, this time around, he has the ability to change that future. And I loved it. I love it because he knows what's going to happen before it happens in his current present time. He knows the people who were his friends in the game, the people he probably needed to befriend in order to be successful, and he knows the people he needs to take down in order to prevent humanity worldwide from being enslaved by this company called Krongate. Now, what they do is pretty much like you are enslaved to them and you have to do their bidding in order to almost survive. The game does have what's called time dilation. So if 3 days pass in the game, only 1 day passes outside. And so you feel like you're living a much longer life within the game. And that's why it's a little bit like squiffy on for me trying to remember exactly how much time was he in the game, because it seems like it was decades. So when he comes out that first time and wakes up and it is in the past before the game has even released, he is like, I know exactly what I need to do to set myself up for success this time. And so he does. He starts working on it. And at one point he sells everything he owns in order to get some money in order to better prepare himself to play the game and to get ahead in the game, to get his stats up as high as he possibly can before other people with more money and more resources can catch up to him. So now we're diving into book number 2, and Rain, it pretty much picks up right after the end of the last book. Like almost no time has passed. He's kind of like standing on top of a mountain after walking through a gateway. And so this one picks up right there and takes off. Now, in the first book, we watched him level up about 10 or 15 levels, or like 10-ish levels. I think in maybe somewhere around in there. In this one, he is growing, but this time he is doing a little bit more building his friend base. And so out of the game, his regular normal name is Rain Kongru. And his name inside the game is Alaric. So he has also made his character really not look like himself in game. He purposefully wants to be as potentially anonymous as possible for the plans that he's made. And so by doing that, he is trying his best to keep it as separate as possible. So hopefully all the damage he kind of wreaks upon like Krongate and other entities within the game, he can be potentially a bit more anonymous on the outside and just look like a wealthy marshal. And so marshals are pretty much fighters in this particular world. Now, firearms are fine, but marshals in this particular world that he lives in the real life world of he lives in, are more like, almost like samurai meets ninjas who have full control over their body and like muscles and stuff like that, and are just peak fighters. Well, even in the short period of time that Rain has been from starting like I think 11 days previously to now, he has changed his entire physique. He has amassed a level of wealth that was previously unheard of, and he has started growing his friend base. So all of these things are benefiting him. He also got his hands in his IRL, his real life, on a kind of experimental serum, which you can kind of construe. I kind of construed it like a super serum that you would give to Captain America, because what it does is when you take it, so when he first woke up and his kind of back in his old body, he was a heavier set guy, hadn't eaten well, all this sort of stuff. So it was very odd for him because he had been in game for so long, at least through his perception, that his body was much more fit. So he takes this serum and he does I guess his body just kind of like purges everything that it doesn't need, and he becomes like almost like this peak perfection physique like level 4 marshal. And so from one visiting to his friend Mel to the next, like she doesn't even recognize him, because where he was a heavier set guy, now he apparently looks really, really good. And so she's a little intrigued by that. She's like, So that's kind of a cute little thing too. There's a little bit of romance going on, but only in the real life world, not in game. In game, Alaric and her character Melbel, they are teammates, but Alaric is so focused on his mission that he does not entertain that in game. Like, absolutely not. There's no romancing inside the game, at least this go round. And so we are finding friends. I think there's Rhino, and then of course there's Melbel, and then there's one other girl that their friendship starts off so badly, so poorly. He goes to the medical facility to try to get his hands on this particular serum, and he kind of runs into her. He knows her from, again, his past life. He knows how important she's going to be to the game, and she doesn't know who this guy is, never met him before in her life, but the way he treats her, she gets curious, like angry curious, and so now she wants to be near him because she's like angry curious. She wants to know more about this person who can apparently evade her charm and not like fall sway to it. So I don't know if she's just like curious because of that. Like, he is powerful too. I had a great time with this book. The action adventure in this is phenomenal. Not so much suspense, but there are a couple moments where, of course, you've got like a battle scene going and it feels like it's kind of pretty close. I did not expect him and like one other friend to take on like tens of thousands of other players in a combat situation. That was crazy. And the thing is so for these people who have to wear, I guess, this haptic gear in order to, I guess, feel and like have tactile sensations within the game, if their character in game meets its demise, then they feel it to a certain extent. Like if a knife is driven through their gut or what have you, there is a sense of haptic feedback that they definitely feel. Now, it's of course not as intense. Your body is not going to actually perish. But it is very interesting because he also says that, like, you know, if you die once, you come back after a few minutes, but the more your character dies, the longer it takes for you to regenerate or for you to come back in game. And so, like, I think if you die like 5 times, then it's going to take you several days before you can log back into the game. It's one of the I guess it's not a fail safe, but I guess it's more or less a penalty for not being better. So I don't know if this book is available in a physical book, but I do highly recommend that if you pick it up, that you pick it up in an audiobook form. I do think it's the best way to consume this type of media. I'm not sure if reading it would really just like hit as well. But so now it does say it is about 431 pages in the Kindle edition, so I know it's available. But I want to say also that my audiobook was somewhere around 12 hours, and I think I consumed it in like I was driving to Georgia, and then while I was in Georgia, I like finished it. So like probably 3 sittings, but I did consume quite a bit of it very quickly. It did publish July 1st of 2025, so when I did see it on NetGalley, I did request it, but even if I don't get it, that is totally fine. I knew I was going to try to get it another way because there are just some books that I absolutely want to get my hands on, and this was one of them. I will even go out and find out, like, it does leave me wanting more. It says, nonstop thrill ride that will leave you thirsty for more, more, more. 100%. I don't know why I am so captivated by this story, except I am. Like, Alaric, kind of cocky, or cocky, arrogant, not even kind of, but definitely cocky, arrogant, a bit egotistical, but it's working for him. Recently, in the not too far past, I read a book where the character was insufferable, just absolutely like he could do no wrong in his own head, sort of thing. He could not be beaten. It was all this sort of like vibe, and I couldn't stand the guy. I had to DNF that book about a third of the way in because it just got to the point where I was like, I can't keep talking to, or I can't keep listening to this guy drone on and on about himself. And so, but when it comes to this book, I absolutely don't mind it. But he's good to his friends, even though he is an incredibly tough teacher. He is very dedicated to trying to help them rise up. It's not that he can't do no wrong, but again, he's lived it before, so he kind of knows how to manipulate situations. So it's not that he's really precog or precognitive, but he kind of is, because he has those decades of experience that he's already lived, and he knows how certain enemies are going to fight. He knows how certain enemies are going to react, and he has a vengeance out for some of them who treated him very poorly in the past, and he is ready to hand their asses back to them. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. I could probably drone on more and more and more about this book, but I'm going to try to go ahead and leave it here. If you're curious about the other book, I feel confident that it's, I don't know how long ago, but 6 months ago-ish, maybe less. But it's also called Return of the Martial Messiah, but it's book 1, and this is going to be book 2. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I hope you will. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.